Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we're actually going to go over my account, and I'd like to show you what progress I've made in the last 6 months in terms of my last account review. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So the easiest way I find to kind of sort my team is by light, and then obviously it will go over into shadow, so you can kind of see what I've pulled and what units are on my team and what's different from before. Now, in terms of Mario, I do have the AS, and so I won't flip between the screens to show you that I do have the AS. I'll just kind of mention it along the way. Suzette, of course, I do have both versions as well. Anabel as well, I do have the AS. And it's actually really interesting to note that some of the 4 stars like Miranda and Bivette have very similar light levels to some of the 5-star gacha units, which makes sense being that we get a lot more of those as filler in our gacha pulls when we do 10 pulls. Foran, of course, has the 4-star, no 5-star. I do have the AS version of Shani as well. I remember missing on her very early on when Other Lands Rattly was a thing, and I needed a lot of DPS for water, and she just spooked me. I missed out on it, and it was painful. Lokito actually is one I have not side graded to AS just because I don't have a need for him. We have Miyu, of course, now as the 5-star. Seti, again, is one I have not side graded to AS, although I do have enough treatises for it. Of course, Yuela, Claude, I have both versions if you've seen on my fights. Laclair, one of my earliest 5 stars in the OG form, and I side graded that to the AS. And of course, Tsubami I pulled on the original banner long time ago, and that's why I do not want to pull on the AS one. I'm going to side grade for her eventually. Of course, Levia is going to be one of note, being that I think Fishing 2.0 is going to be coming in, so hopefully you are all working on that as well. Kikyo AS is coming, and of course, right now I have that. AS Ciel, let's keep on going. Some of these, of course, are free 5-star units. Shion, I do not have the AS form. Renri, I do have the AS form, and Bertrand, I have not side graded yet. Hey, we got a couple of bots in the way. There's Dewey, of course, 5-star May, our newest addition. Tales of Crest, 5-star Cyrus. And again, Mighty is one I have not ever side graded. This is an interesting one. I've never actually pulled a 5-star version of Mighty. These are 4 pulls of 4.5, totaling 16 light. And same with Myrus. If you reflect upon your own account, it's really interesting where, for example, I pulled on the normal style Myrus banner back in the day when I used her to finally beat Leviathan when it was actually still tough at the time. Note that I did side grade to, I guess, AS Myrus, and never really got another copy of that. So very fortunate I got the one. For those who are more recent members of my channel, you'll remember I rage pull and got the normal style Hisumena, which I side graded. Myunfa, back in the day, 5k for her 4.5. No regrets there. Of course, Necoco, which I used some light items on. And we'll just scroll down here. Yipha hit 2 4s. Radias. Hozuki, which I did side grade. I didn't actually side grade to the 5-star version, although I understand her manifest is going to be very powerful for the normal style, so may have to pay 5 chants for that. Isuka, another one I only pulled the 4.5, never paid for the side grade for the full 5-star, and so I only have the AS version. And a few that are still waiting in the works. Yuna, never touched it. Shigiri, probably going to AS it eventually soon. Alright, so we're at the shadow areas, and obviously some of my highest units for shadow, just like in light, are being grinded out, and so that's where you see those from. Okay, Gilna, let's see. Okay, Nagi. So of course I have both versions of that. Tsukiha, fortunate enough to have all 3 versions of that. Melina, no AS upgraded yet. Ewan have both versions. Pry are relatively new 5-star. Nikkei is one I have not paid for the side grade yet. Maybe when her manifest comes in the future, I'll do so. Elga, both forms. Toova, both forms. Fine, of course, new to the Goddess of Time upgrade to 5-star. And Rosetta, I have both forms. Pulled the regular, now normal style, and side graded. Our Victor, which is the newest AS version, of course, saving for those trying to get the treatises. Luckily, I off-bannered or got spooked by Zero, since his AS is now coming in Japan in the near future. Another water zone setter. Very happy about that. Melina, no AS, although they'll have the normal style, which I pulled in the Luring Shadow Drop. And I wish Galliard would become a 5-star eventually. And there you have it for the rest of those. So again, Alulu never pulled the, don't have the 5-star version of that. All right, so let's see what we should do next here. So you've seen all that. Let's go with, I guess, items. And so key items, I know that most of you probably have a lot of these. Things that you're probably mainly interested in, things are like a lot of them are obviously from the storyline, but the Moon Boy ones are those really interesting hidden items along the way. And so obviously if you don't have certain ones I have, make sure you look for those in the future. Vortex eggs, of course, for Straw Boy, and so on and so forth. I won't spend too much time here because, you know, I'm sure you guys don't really care too much about some of these. Again, Flower Girl and Shiny Girl, Shadow Country Moon Boy, all these books you are looking for. Okay, so materials, that's just to drop off, nothing there. Okay, I'll just quickly scroll through the most highest leveled weapons. Remember that if you haven't gone to buy one of each, make sure you do so. You do get a lot of gold and silver rewards, as well as chronostones for a lot of those. And in terms of the newest items, Luna weapons, I definitely have a couple of copies of the one I use more of. Some of the newest ones like Illusion haven't really had a chance to spend much time in grinding them out. All right. And again, you can definitely compare some of the weapons I have now to ones from 6 months ago. Of course, everything's released since then. I've really tried to get a couple of copies of like the Azul weapons, the Luna weapons, and so on and so forth. And in terms of whether or not you're asking, I'm sure you say, Will, do you spend a lot of time grinding for the materials for these weapons? And the answer really depends. Hey, our newest sword, Bond of Sword. I don't purposely grind for extra materials. I do grind them in the dungeons when I get white and green keys, and you know, just kind of try to fight the fights as I'm getting light and shadow for my units. And so I don't really purposely get a lot of extra items unless I need them. Like for example, for the Lunar, as you're grinding, you know, shadow for Clark, you'll probably have most of those now. It's just like the Indomitable ones. You're going to be grinding for the first night dungeon, and as you do so, you'll probably have most of these. In terms of the manifest, of course, everyone has to grind out the XP. I think one of note that some people are still asking about is the Okanactos or some of these other lance weapons. And the reason why I have them leveled to a high level compared to some of the more recent players is that at the time that it was released, that content, there was really nothing else to use your green keys on. And so therefore you would be spending your green keys instead of at a Garrelia dungeon, spending only five minutes to run it through. You're spending 40 plus minutes running 2 green keys for Garrelia, for other lands Berkai or other lands Ratley or even El Zion. They were actually really, really tough dungeons. Never really got used to them, and at the time being that a lot of items and weapons and 5 stars were very, very limited. There's no Grasta, there weren't zones. To beat down on some of those bosses were near insane, and it took a lot of finagling and a little bit of 5-star luck to even be competitive in those areas. Like if you watch my earliest videos on Berkai Other Lands, and you can just go back to the channels for the earliest days. I think I started my first video at the end of April of a couple of years ago, and back then, like I only had a couple of 5 stars. My very first 5-star account review, I only had like I think 3 or 4 5 stars. Like I had of course the Suzette, which was my first 5-star. Of course, for those who don't know, my Might Waifu. There was also like a Laclair, normal style Anabel. That's pretty much it. And then of course you relied on the free units such as Azami, and I had a 4-star Mario at one point trying to fight through things until I had a 5-star. It was rough. Okay, in terms of armor, I did try to buy multiple copies, especially if I grinded Beast King Castle very hard. They actually had a lot of ways to buy, and so I actually had tons and tons of those, and I bought, you know, as many as needed to kind of put onto my units. Now, necklaces were always pretty not much use, so I didn't really buy a lot of them, but in terms of rings, for example, you can see 4 discipline rings, 4 moon realm rings, and a lot of demon rings because, again, rings were very, very useful. More and more units use rings, I would say, than even bracelets, although I could totally be wrong on that. I just kind of get that feeling. Again, with badges, most of these are from quests, of course. Some of them are from cat stamps. And of course, some of them are also from battle simulators. So if you don't have all of these, make sure you continue aiming for those end game content. There's a roadmap on subreddit in Another Eden that can really show you where you're really looking for content to be, either optional bosses or things like that. And I do apologize if I'm scrolling a little bit fast. I don't think anyone really wants to see the list of Thunder Resistance plus 10 badges here. So the main ones of note, I'm sure, are the 2 XP50s. Those are both from the Battle Simulator ones, and you really want to look for those. And some of these XP30s are obviously from the Sealed Realm. And so if you're in the early and mid game, definitely I would consider running the red keys a couple of times on the Sealed Realm just to get a couple of extra 30 badges, because they really come in handy when you're leveling up an entire team. All right, so we'll just quickly sort through I guess the most powerful badges here that I have. So some of them, again, are rewards from Cat Stamp. Otherwise, the newest dungeon does give some really high value ones. I don't think I've hit anything really good. All of these are essentially from Cat Stamps. Some of these are from, these ones, of course, from Mythos. And again, Cat Stamps, Cat Stamps, Cat Stamps. So the interesting ones are the ones that you're finding. And so I think this is maybe the only one I found. I can't even remember. And then so on and so forth. So you're really looking for a secondary value of more than 10, which is where you're trying to get awesome stuff. So like even something like this, not too great, but of course for a tiramisu, not bad. See some of these with the dual. And then this one I found, I still use it very much. 1711 is not a bad combination. I mean, you're thinking about the two stats together. If you can get over 30 or 35, you're winning really hard at that point. Okay, cooling box, you don't really care about that. And if you're wondering what I have for my fishing rod, after some time, this is what I had when I was close to beating and catching the Lake Lords and Leviathan. I think I only had a level 28 rod. I don't think I bought all the Dimensional Hook 2. I only had the first one. But since then, I've kind of gone back to some of the newer areas and gotten a little bit of stuff there. Okay, so this is where I'm sure a lot of you are going to be shocked at what I have. And a common question is, how do you have so many murmur and prayer scripts? Those are pretty easy to find if you run all your red and green keys. Now, this is the crux of the situation. If you don't run red and green keys, you're really going to be missing out on essentially all the upgradable materials you need to really make your team a lot better. Now, this is where you can spend a lot of time in the game, especially in endgame where, you know, after the, you know, you get keys every 6 hours and you're like, I don't really want to run it. My whole point is, I would highly recommend running them. And if you find it difficult, try to check out other people's videos or even my own videos on ways to kind of kill off mobs in one hit. Nowadays, there's a lot of newer units that really help with things like that. You know, so my channel wouldn't be the only one there. There's tons of other ones. I mean, I can recommend using, for example, switching between Joker and Morgana. Joker's AoE VC will probably wipe out most things. Some of the newer units like Radica AS, Tiramisu, of course, Tsubame AS. There's a lot. And again, you definitely want to run as many of those as possible, both to level up your units, get all these coveted treatises and chants, and of course all those prayers and murmurs. Now, one thing some people may do is they may skip on collecting everything in the dungeon and just go right to the end. I would highly advise against that, because when you do that, you are going to run into problems where you're not getting enough you know, murmurs and prayers. Like if I did that now, probably not a problem at all. But for people in the early, mid, or even early end game, and you're light on some of those upgraded units, upgraded items, make sure you definitely collect every chest in the dungeons. Okay, I don't even remember what these are. I think those are for, those are for the Mythos thing in the area. Okay, so Grasta, I'm not going to spend too much time here. I've done a couple of videos on, what Grasta to upgrade. Note that I did use a lot of dormant ore, and basically all tier 3 type of Grasta I use, such as the shared almighty powers, for example, or the tier 3 elemental ones like Quake, Rapids, Infernos. I highly recommend using dormant ore to upgrade all those, and obviously you'll need Jades and things like that as well. And max HP. These are all really, really important to get maximum damage for your endgame team, since you can share a lot of those abilities, because it says damage, for example, when at max HP for any party member that meets the requirements of having max HP and carrying a bow. Now, in terms of these power and mind ones that increase crit rate, not nearly as important, although if you do find a special use for it, you can upgrade it. I would consider those secondary values. The newest Agony Grasta that you find from the, from the main storyline, very, very powerful, and it starts with a base level of pain 30, and you can enhance it to 35, or if you just want to enhance it with those weak point rows of swords and so on and so forth, you can do that as well. And if you're wondering, is there much of a difference, Will, between these regular pains versus the agonies? The answer lies in the stats. You're getting a 10 power, 10 luck, double the stats of the other ones, and so extra power does lead to extra damage. Okay, so yeah, just a lot of upgraded items. Some of the newest ones, Deadly Blow is obviously from the newest Underworld dungeon. Very, very, very useful if you want to enhance your damage. And of course, same thing, lots and lots of pain. And if you haven't checked out my video and you want to use your Grasta a little bit more effectively, make sure you check out my Back to Basics playlist that has some explanation of some of the combinations that you can use for your Grasta. Okay, I'll just quickly scroll here. You can see I have lots and lots and lots and lots of those, and there are some that I have not upgraded yet as well, just because I haven't used it. At this point in the end game for me, I won't be using elemental tier 2 Grasta or enhancing them to tier 3. The use of pain and poison Grasta or other enhancement Grasta is just too much to ignore. But if you're relatively early in the end game, where you're only in the chapter 40s or whatever like that, elemental Grasta is still highly coveted after, and don't worry if you don't have most of these, because they will come along as you grind through the story and essentially grind through the dungeons as well. A lot of these have not been upgraded. I find that the meta is more for DPS and not so much for defense. These two I would find very, very useful. The Wisdom of Curses and Power of Curses. I think they come from fighting the Regen Worm, and so you'll need these if you're modifying your team to power down and int down for super fights. And of course the prayers, we've talked about that in the Grasta video. You can get those as well from Antiquity Garely, I believe. So lots of them have not been upgraded, haven't bothered with that. And finally, in terms of the VC Grasta, I would consider these not absolutely necessary, but if you want to squeeze out every point of damage that you want for your team, you definitely want the T as in true proof, and that usually means you have to combine 3 regular proofs to make one. And so again, there's a video in my Back to Basics as to how to do that, but it does take a lot of resources. Luckily, the new Underworld dungeon does have rare drops of special crystals, which are the ones that are really gating people from getting it, and obviously some special fragments which you can get from shredding 4-star books. Some of these are specialized ones, like obviously that's from the side quest. Some of these are from the main story, and so forth. But I try to make, if you're wondering how I make these, I try to make one for each unit I use. And obviously, if I use more of them, I will be concentrating on making sure I get the true VC Grasta, since the extra 15-15 stats make a lot of difference over, say, a 5-5 stats, even though the VC effect might be the same. And in some cases, the true VC does give you a slight benefit over other things as well. Not much to mention here. I actually have grinded out almost everything. I'm missing like 1 or 2, but I have finished all of the the rewards from the newest kind of a cat photo or whatever that is. And I think that's pretty much it. I have a lot of these dormant ores and things like that. And again, if you're missing a lot of this, just go to the wiki and check out where they drop the most and concentrate your efforts there, because there are the newer dungeons actually drop some of the older dungeon stuff. It's just not necessarily in high quantities. And so if you want the newest stuff, obviously you'll do the new stuff. If you're talking about the old stuff, then you'll have to wait for those as well. Okay, I think that is there anything else? I guess I will go over the records. Okay, so there's a lot I haven't claimed yet. And the only reason for that is I have no need for stones. The next major banner I'll pull on, I'll probably claim them all. We'll just go for the ones I have not achieved yet. There's quite a few I have not achieved. So that gives you an indication of how much grinding I actually do. I haven't gone back to kill everything, although, you know, along the way, some of these purgatory ones, for example, I haven't done yet. Ruins, I never did much in Ruins of Rekiana. Okay, so won't spend too much story here. Dungeons, so a lot of these are stuff we haven't gotten yet. We can't get 130 cats and stuff like that, so. And then I don't have 140 because, you know, as a free-to-play, you're never going to have everything in the game. In terms of fishing, I have most of what I needed, and so obviously I stopped, but you can clearly see that if I really want to work out more of it, I definitely could do so. Okay. And then finally, other random things I haven't done. Okay, so a couple last things to kind of clean up this video and just kind of cover a couple of questions that you may have. And feel free to put some comments below if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer them as well. If you're wondering how many wild chant scripts I've found so far, I do have a running total when I do my farming videos. I believe I'm at 175 that I found over the last 2.5 years of global being available and running all those dungeons. So that did not include things that you get from the story, for example. Those ones that you can get from rewards, I don't count those. So purely drops in dungeons, 175 chant scripts. In terms of who I've upgraded, it's going to be a long list, so just bear with me. This is in rough order, although not exact. So I've upgraded from 4.5 to 5. Mighty, Ewan, normal style Shannon, AS Toova. All three encounters, that is Serene, Azami, and Garyu. Shion, normal style, what a waste. Myunfa, Dewey, Radias, Bria, Claude, normal style. AS Suzette, AS Anabel, Elga, normal style, Kikyo, Jade, Thillelille. AS Foran, AS Myrus, Renri to normal style, Melissa from 4.5 to 5, AS Laclair, AS Ciel, AS Rosetta, AS Tsukiha, AS Isuka, Necoco, AS Ewan, ES Melina, Yipha, AS Hisumena, AS Miyu, AS Hozuki, and AS Lulu. And note, I didn't mention people like Pry or Bivet or anything like that. One chant, I don't really consider anything like that. And so my final note to everyone who's still watching at this point is that I know there are a lot of content creators out there, both bigger and smaller, and I actually found that if you wanted to, feel free to put up your own video of your account review on your maybe mention it on the comments on this video, and I'll try to check it out if I can. I'm actually really curious how if some of you how you've done on the game, if you've been fortunate, unfortunate with some of your polls. Some of you obviously are still free to play as well, like myself. And yes, that is a question people still ask: am I completely free to play? And yes, I am. Never have spent a single dime on the game. Please put your own 5-star review and your own account review, and I'll take a look if I can. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully this content was enjoyable and interesting to you. And likewise, I will try to check out your videos if you do put one out. And looking forward to approaching soon to be 5,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for me. And looking forward to creating hopefully more videos that you guys like to watch. Hopefully my journey with Another Eden and all of you continues as well. And we'll see you around. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.